Hi everyone, and you are welcome to this lecture, Python Conditional Statements. In this lecture, we are going to learn about conditional statements that are available in Python. So we will see how we can use if statement, if else, if elif, etc. else, and I will end up this lecture by a quick summary. So let's get started. We know that the default flow of program execution is from left to right, from top to the bottom. But sometimes we want to skip some statements if a predefined condition is satisfied. In order to do that, we have to use conditional statements. So conditional statements are mainly used to skip some statements if a predefined condition is not satisfied. The main keyword in order to use conditional statements is if. If could come alone, or it could come with else, or it could come with elif and else, as we will see in the examples later on. You have to know that Python does not support switch statement. Switch statement is a conditional statement that's available in other programming language like C# or Java. So if you come from this programming language background, don't try to look for switch because it's not available in Python. Now let's see the syntax of if statement. In order to use if, you have to type the following. You have to say if, then you have to put your condition, then colon, and then you have to put your statements. And look here that I keep some spaces before these statements. And this is required in Python, and this will allow Python interpreter understands that this block of statements, so you can use one statement or more, belong to this if condition. The note here that don't forget the colon, please. Why I say that? Because if you forget this colon, directly the interpreter will throw an exception and your program will not be executed. For the condition here, you have to put any expression or set of expressions that return a Boolean value. So you can use comparison operators, membership operators, or identity operators. Also, you can use any expression that returns true or false here. Now let's ask this question. How if statement work? It's very easy. Usually, the execution flow is from top to the bottom. So while we are executing our program, if we face if statement, the interpreter will evaluate this condition. If it gives me true, the statement will be executed. Otherwise, the execution will continue directly from the first statement after if condition. So if the condition is satisfied, statements will be executed. Otherwise, statement will not be executed. Let's continue now and see if-else statement syntax. In order to use if-else, you have to say if condition, then colon, then I will put statement or block of statements, then else, then another statement or block of statements. And again, please don't forget the colon. If-else is very useful when you want to execute some statement if a condition is satisfied, but if it's not satisfied, you want to execute other statements. So when we use if-else, the interpreter, once it reaches this condition, it will evaluate the value. If it's true, this block of statements will be executed. Otherwise, this block of statements will be executed. And again here, don't forget that you have to keep some spaces before statements as here in if and else. It's not a problem how many spaces you keep, but you have to know that all the statements should have the same number of spaces. And don't worry, you don't have to put these spaces by yourself, because once you put colon here and you press enter, directly the editor will indent this block of code for you. Now let's talk about if-elif else statement. Sometimes you want to evaluate not only one condition, but more than one condition. And in order to do that, you have to use if-elif else statement. As you see here, I have if condition 1, statements, then elif condition 2, until condition n, and finally I have else. The interpreter here will evaluate the condition 1 first. If it's true, the block of statements here will be executed, and directly the interpreter will move to the first statement after if-elif else statement. If this condition is not satisfied, the interpreter will evaluate this condition and check if it's true. These statements will be executed and then directly exit, or it will evaluate condition n. If it's true, this block of statement will be executed, else it will move to else. And finally here, if all of these conditions are not satisfied, the interpreter will execute the block of code here inside statements. Again, please don't forget the colon beside if, elif, and else. Also, you have to know that else is optional, so you can use or you can remove if you want, or your program logic does not need that. Also, keep in mind that before statements, you have to keep some spaces in order to make the interpreter understand that this block of statements belong to this if condition, and this block of statements belong to this elif, and so on. Now let's move to PyCharm IDE in order to see some practical examples about conditional statements. The first example that I want to show you is about if statement. So let me assume that a equal to 1, b equal to 20. Then I want to print this statement which say b is bigger than a. But I want to print this statement only if b is bigger than a. So I will put a condition and I will say if b is larger than a, and we know that larger than is a comparison operator which give me true or false according to the operands. And look here, I keep some spaces as indentation so the interpreter will understand that this print statement belongs to this if, and I put colon here. Now let me run. As you see, I got p is bigger than a. If I make now this 0.2 and run, nothing has been printed because now p is smaller than a. This condition is not satisfied, so the interpreter will skip this statement. Now let's see another example about if. In this example, I will assume I have a set, its name zoo animals. It has lion, tiger, fish, duck, and I have another set which is animals too. It has lion and tiger. Now I want to know if animals too are belonging to the animals that usually we see in the zoo. So in order to do that, I will use is subset function. This function will help me to know if the set on the left is subset of the set on the right. So animals 2 has lion, tiger. Zoo animals has lion, tiger, fish, and duck. So animals 2, it's a subset of zoo animals. So we will print, in this case, we can see lion and tiger in the zoo. Let me run. As you see, this sentence is printed because this function gave me true in this case. The last example that I want to show you about if is the following. Assume I have the following list, which is high-level programming language equal to C++, Java, Python, and HTML. Now I want to print this statement. Python is a high-level programming language, and this statement should be printed if Python belongs to this list. How to know that? I will use n operator. We know n will give me true if this element is available in this list, otherwise it will give me false. Because n returns true or false, so I am able to use it as a condition here inside if statement. So I will say if Python in high-level programming language, please print Python is a high-level programming language. And when I run, I will get this output. Now let's see some examples about if-else statement. The first example that I want to show you is the following. Assume I have two dictionaries. The first one is girl, its name Huda, and her age is 29. The second dictionary is boy, his name is Ali, and his age is 47. Now I want to compare between girl and boy ages and check which one is older. So I will say if boy age is larger than girl age, I want to print boy name, comma, is older than, comma, girl name. So if the boy age is larger than girl age, I want to print his name with the sentence is older than the girl name. And if he is smaller, I want to print the opposite of this sentence. I want to say the girl is older than boy name. For this case, I use if-else statement. So if this condition is satisfied, this will be executed. Otherwise, this statement will be executed. Let me run. I will find Ali is older than Huda. Why? Because his age, which is 47, is larger than 29. Now if I make this 56 and run, you will see now Huda is older than Ali because this condition will give me false. Then I will move directly to execute the content of else. Don't forget the colon please, and don't forget the indentation also please. Now let's see another example about if-else. Assume I have two variables, a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and I want to calculate the absolute difference between these two numbers. I mean by absolute, the positive difference between these two numbers. So I will say if a is bigger than b, I will make c equal to a minus b, else c equal to b minus a. So in this case, I say if you find the value of a is larger than b, then find a minus b, and it will be positive because a is larger than b. Otherwise, which means if b is larger than a, calculate b minus a. Once you do that, print the absolute difference is, and I will set c here, and let me run. As you see, I get 10. Why 10? Because a is not larger than b, so I will move to here, and I will calculate b minus a, which is in this case 10. Let me make this 30 now, and run again. Again, I get 10. Why? Because now a is larger than b, so this statement will be executed, and I will get 10. So don't forget, I try to calculate here the absolute difference. Now let's see some examples about if-elif else statement. I will assume that I have a equal to 20, b equal to 30, and I want to compare between these two numbers to find if a is bigger than b or smaller than b or it's equal to b. So I will say if a is bigger than b, print a is larger than b, elif a is smaller than b, so I will say print a smaller than b, else print a equal to b. As you see here, because a and b are numbers, we have only 3 cases. A could be larger than b, smaller than b, or equal to b. So let's run to see the result. As you see here, I get a smaller than b because a equal to 20 and b equal to 30. If I make b equal to 10, I will get a is larger than b. Now let's see another example by tweaking a little bit this example. I will define a list c equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want to know if a or b are available inside this list c. So I will say if a in c, print a in c. If b in c, I will say b in c. Else, if these two conditions are not satisfied, then a and b are not in c. Let's check what I will get in this case. So if I run, I get A and B are not in C. And this is correct because both A and B are not available in this list. So the interpreter will evaluate this condition. The result is false. It will move to the next condition. The result is also false. So it will go and execute the content of else statement. And that's all for this code session. Now, let's summarize what we have learned in this lecture. The first thing that we see that conditional statements are statements to skip some statements if a predefined condition is not satisfied. Mainly, we use if statement in order to use conditional statements in Python. Python does not support switch statement. And now I want you please to refer to Python conditional statements challenges, in which you will find some challenges to practice what you have learned in this lecture. Thank you very much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.